So, I just have a blank Blender file. All I did was hit A and hit X and delete. You can see what I'm doing like right here. Okay, so what you want to do every time is go to File, Import, FBX, and then you want to navigate to your folder where you have your models. So in this case, it's Inkling Female Player Player 00.fbx. This is just me screwing around, and you might have other files. These folders won't be here. That's just because I like to customize mine. You don't have to do that though. So when you click your file, and I'm using the middle mouse to zoom around, like rotate around, and shift middle mouse to pan around. So you see this, you have this. I right click to select. You probably use left click. I did that because the older versions of Blender were like this. So you select this, and you select your body mesh, and you go to shading. Remember, numpad period to zoom in directly to your model. Um, and you see this drop down menu, and deselect bones, so that way you don't see the bones. Well, obviously the model's not what we want it to look like, so we go over here into this tab, we go to Material Properties, and we scroll down to where we see Alpha Blend. Now we don't want this because it obviously screws up the model, so we want it to be opaque. If you're on older Blenders, versions of Blender, it won't have this problem, but for most of the newer ones, like 2.8, 3, I think, onwards, you will have this issue. So obviously we don't want to be a metal inkling. So in this slider right here, we can just, so yeah, you'll go to shading, right? We have our body selected. Remember, using the camera to move around. And you see the specular, like right now everything looks flat. So we want to change the specular to 0.5 so that we can get a little bit of reflections, because you see without it, the black is entirely black, but with it, you see it's a little bit brighter. And then we don't want this. We're gonna click and drag to remove it, because we're gonna use it elsewhere. Oh shoot! I have to. Do I have to enable this for every single? This is my first time doing any of these. I apologize if I do anything stupid. Because I am not used to recording what I do. So I'll drag this over here, Shift A. Am I just gonna... Okay, there. It'll show now. Okay, so Shift A, color, mix RGB. And there's a list of skin tones right here. Constant color. You can take a screenshot of these. These colors right here will not be exactly accurate, but these values are what you're going to plug in. It goes from lightest to darkest, and then these two, I have no clue what those are there for. But transmission color, and you will need the transmission rate. So just go back and take a screenshot of those if you need to. So I personally like using the 3-1 so it'll be 0.5, 0.22, 0.15. Okay, so just set this multiply, and that, see, you have nice skin tone. So drag this down here and do another. Oh, scheisse. Ah! So set this to multiply with this, and we want to select the m underscore body underscore AO dot PNG. You want to select that image and set it to non-color. This is just ambient occlusion, but you want to include this because it helps when copying the shaders to the eyelid. So if you notice, if you look at some Splatoon, see if that, because you see how they are much redder. Like in the shadows, they are much redder. This is a system, like you see that shadows are red. This is a system the game likes to call, essentially it is just coloring the shadows red. But the game calls it transmission. And that's why we needed the transmission backlight colors and the transmission rate. So the texture that goes with this is a texture that is labeled TRM, and you need to set this to non-color as well. So, and I use Node Wrangler a lot, but I'm going to try to avoid to use it. If you need help, just ask in the comments. Very nice. Ah, shoot, did it. So you want a layer weight node, and literally all I did was Shift A, put layer weight, and then attached the normal to the back end of it. And so you want to Shift A, math node, set it to multiply, and then facing plugs into the second slot, TRM plugs into the first slot. Oh, well, I guess there's another color that is also very useful. It's called the scattering color. I just use so often I have it memorized. So it's 0.73, 0.03, and 0. These values are the very specific ones you want to use. So plug this into this factor, this into here, and change the blend mode to add. And what this does, it makes it look very delicious. Like you see, it kind of looks a lot brighter. Like if I hit M to mute it, you can see there's a huge difference. It looks a lot more gooey. So ignore the background sounds. Okay, so now we want the transmission backlight color. So as you see, it is 0.56, 0.02. 0.56. And then change that. So, and then we go shader, translucent. Translucency is basically lighting up the sides that we don't see. Okay, so shader, mix shader. Put this down here, and then so go back to our transmission rate. That will be 0.5. And then what makes it all come together is shader, add shader, and then plug these both together. Now, see, it doesn't look like it did all too much. Please ignore the background sounds. I'm trying so hard to ignore them. And you want to select all of them, or go through, you see this panel up here, I just hit that arrow, and select all of the mouths, and change the material they use to the body material, the one that looks different. So in this case, it is embody at 0.006, but most of the time it will just be embody. And for the ones that say Teamcolour, you want all of them to be M underscore, or which one does this one use? For me, it's 0.003, but for most people, it will be just M Teamcolour. So again, just going through and making sure they all use the same materials. Great. Okay. So now we can hide all of the mouths we aren't using, because that's not really important right now. Because you can obviously see that the eyelid isn't how we want it to be. So we just hit A, Control C, and hit X on the eyelid, and hit Control V. Now, it doesn't look right, but that's because it's using the body's textures. So you want to go through and find an M eyelid 0, TRM 0, and change it to non-color. Find the MLTA. In place of the ALB, you want to use the eyelid MLTA. Then for the body AO, you want to use the ALB. This is just because the ALB is the actual mask texture, and then the MLTA is like the skin, and we want the skin to be colored, not just the mask. And there's actually a different thing you have to add at the end, but I'll just worry about when I get there. And then you will go to the eyelid NRM, and you'll see some of them will be preset to non-color, others won't. The only things that should be RGB are, well, I'll actually mention when they should be. Unless I say they shouldn't, then they shouldn't. Unless I say they shouldn't, then they should. Sorry. So we'll duplicate this with Shift D, and we'll bring it down here. And I'm sorry if I'm going really fast. I'm just really used to this. So we will shader transparent, plug it into the first slot. That is very important. It cannot be the second. So we want to, you can just hit Shift A, image texture, but I just duplicated one existing one. And you want to pick the same .s. If you're using ALB0, you want to pick ALB0S. That is very important also. Okay, so if you plug that in there, you can see, oh shoot, I forgot to change the alpha blend. We all make mistakes. Oh shoot, you need alpha clip, sorry. And then for the eye, you want opaque. We can just go ahead and change all of them from alpha blend. So now you've got perfectly functional. What the fudge did I do wrong here? What did I do? It's the RGH. Okay, so I like to use 0.567. It is close enough, or it's either 0.567 or 0.576. I never remember exactly which. But it gets an almost invisible seam between the eyelid and the skin, and that way it just looks nicer. So, yeah, that's all you have to do to change the eyelid to how it's supposed to look. And this may look daunting at first glance, but it's really easy to set up. So, eye. The eye is actually very simple. Why are my cats fighting? So, we have this, and we want the IALB to be below. Always remove metallic, even if it has a dot and underscore MTL texture in the file. You always remove it. This will be, it will be the ITCL. Oh, fudge, wrong thing. This one will be the ITCL, and that needs to be on color, shift A, color, mix RGB. And this, the eyes are very important that you swap it to color 2, drag it from color 1 to color 2, and then plug this into the mix slot, and then we can go over here. I'll make this bigger so you can see all of them at once. Anyway, so you can screenshot this too if you like. The alpha is blank just because there is none, but this is the red values, the green values, and the blue values. Then you can just like see what colors. I like to use the orange one because it's simple. I mean the blue one because it's simple. That is not simple. And then it's 0.03 and 0.72. 0.03, 0.72. And you see, it already looks great. So, actually, that's all you need to do unless you're going to be moving the eyes, which you probably will. So, you want to input UV map. Oh, yeah, and once again, if you ever need to know what keys I'm pressing, you can see them right here. So, just plug this into the back end of all of these image textures. Shift, Shift, right click, and then drag over the 3 lines. Shift S, vector, mapping. Very cool, I know. Um, and then you want to um, change. You can change the location. It will actually be opposite of the arrows you put. So just keep that in mind. If you want to go up, you have to go into the negatives. Right. See, it does absolutely nothing because they are 2D textures. So with that out of the way, now you're on to these these bloody things. And I will actually be providing a Google Drive link to the textures that I'm going to be changing these to because they apparently were not included in the models resource rips, which is kind of stupid, but then again, the models resource is stupid. So you want to go to mouth text, and then you want to use all of these textures instead of the ones provided, the white ones, because they overlooked that somehow. Like, how do you overlook something that huge? Shoot, wrong texture again. So color mix RGB. Set that to non-color. And then there are actual specific team colors, but you can just make them whatever color you want. So for this one, I'll just pick this color. I like this color. It's a very nice color. Again, metallic 0.5. And there you go. You have actual eyebrows. And you'll notice that when you unhide the other mouths, they will also be. That's because they have the same material. I like to change the mouths from the default one just because it adds more character to them. And now, okay, yeah, this is how you change what mode you're viewing it at. This is just solid view. This is material preview, and then this is rendered view. Rendered view looks awful because we haven't done any lighting. So we can import FBX, and we want to choose whatever hair. Hair 01 is the classic Splatoon 1 hairstyle. Hair 01, did I say that twice? Anyway, this one is the Splatoon 2 default one. The short bob looking one. The one that kind of looks like Pearl. Hair 02, I don't remember. Hair 03 is the one with the long in the front, and then there's the one long on the left of the character, the four in the back, and then the one that's kind of short in the back. I don't know how to describe it, and I'm too lazy to actually edit it. But you can just go through, see which one you like best. My personal favorite is probably either 03 or 05, but you know, for this one, I think I'll actually just use um, hair 05, yeah, and hit. You want to select the bones that's sticking out right here. Control Tab, and you want to select the head underscore root. Okay, so go to this bone that looks like a bone through like a meat stick or something. Go to add bone constraint, copy transforms, arm whatever the the bones of your player character is. Like you can select it. See up there, it says armature. You want to copy armature, and then you want to do the head bone. So that was a lot of unnecessary talk. Um, yeah, remember always disable alpha blend. Shoot, alpha blend. You want to disable it because it makes everything look ugly. Actually, no, I'm not going to use this hair. I'm indecisive. It is a bad display of the shaders. I will give in and use the most popular hair, I think, or the second most popular. Um, Copy transforms, armature, head, and see, it's already looking a lot better. So you go to shading again. I have to set this every time. So we go to shading, then we go to this. Just make sure it's still recording. Okay, yeah. So then we go to recording. Not recording. What am I saying anymore? So all of these textures will not be correct. You will have to go and like you see how it says hair underscore or hair 00. to navigate to that folder because the model's resource did not think that it would default to the wrong texture. But anyway, I digress. Change metallic to 0, specular to 5, normal map to 1. I think I did that subconsciously. And if I can find the resource of the team colors, I will put that there. I have them myself, but they're all separated and they're really tedious to like go through and look for. So put TCL in the mix. Color. And you see it's already looking great. So now just put whatever your team color is in there, and it looks great, except it's inaccurate. So the technical thing is when you look at the character, you see it has this orange hue shift. That's actually a very specific color that I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to open the file of the hair. Close 3D view, I don't want that. Materials, team color, parameters. So you'll see this one and this one. These two. If you need a screenshot, that's what you... Okay, so these are the two you want. These two. So 0.84, 0.51. Oh yeah, okay. I'll come back to those when I need it. Okay. Shift A, input, layer weight. And layer weight is basically just like, I'll plug it into the view. I'll let you see what it does. It's hard to explain it, but it basically wraps like this gradient around the entire model, and it's very useful for Splatoon effects because everything in Splatoon, pretty much everything uses it. So you want to add a texture. You want to find the TRM texture and set it to non-color as always, and then converter math facing multiply, and you want another mix RGB node. You can see that I'm just pulling from stuff I already have. So this is where you'll need your other colors. So you can input RGB node, then you'll need 2 more mix RGB nodes. So plug this into both color ones, and I'm just copying the colors with Control C. And you want to plug in the pinkish color right here. So I've already forgot. See, love my attention span. 0.8, 0.17, I think. 0.8, 0, 0.17. And then multiply. That is crucial to getting the effect right. How much red? No, that's wrong. 0.84, 0.51. 0.51. Okay. Oops. Did not mean to do that. So you will put the pink one on color 1, and then you will, I'll just grab another mix RGB node, plug this into there, this into there. And if you want, you can hit M to mute this or not. When we're done, it really doesn't matter. Shift A shader. translucent. Put this in here. Shift A shader, mix shader. Plug this into the second slot, 0.3. That is just because that's what the effect is multiplied by, and that's the best way we can multiply it. And then another mix shader. We will need the THC texture now. So, on color, just plug that in there. You will want it in the first slot this time. Make it. Just let me know if you don't understand something I'm saying. Is it even? Okay, it is. It is capturing what I'm saying. Good. Okay. So now you can see if I get a better HDRI, first of all. Like, okay, so if we view what it originally looked like, see, it got a little bit brighter. You can omit this too if you think it looks better with the effect stronger. It's like, this is all personal preference for the most part. Whatever you think looks best, and don't be afraid to experiment too. But I think having in-game accuracy to what shoot, I am definitely a Control S spammer. I'm just adding a light to help the effect show better. Like you can see right there, you can see the effect. And if I remove layer weight, you can see that it looks pretty accurate. I think this so far is the most accurate I've been able to make the shaders. So yeah, I'm not the best at making tutorials, I just know what the fudge I'm doing. Set environment, or Control Z, X. So, I like to make a 3-point light setup. So I will have 3 lights scattered about that just kind of light up the space, and you can turn off their visibility by the drop down and turning off extras, but that will also hide everything else. Or just click this to turn everything except for the meshes off. But you notice the gap. So you want to import FBX, navigate to the clothes folder of whatever you're using, and then you want to import, maybe you want to import, these are the ones that I always go to. These are my go-to, pants, opaque. The clothes have to be the most complicated part to set up, but they are, that being said, they are not that complicated at all. So you want to select the armature, tab to go into edit mode. You want to go to solid view for this. Alt Z, select this right here. This right here. This bone. Not this bone, this one. Because you will see another bone is connected to it if you hit G to move it. Why the fudge is screencast keys? Screencast keys get on my nerves. So you want to Shift S, cursor to selected, and then you want to Shift S, Alt P, clear parent and keep transformation, Shift S, and then you can hit, and then you Shift select the then you select the pants mesh, select the body, and then Control P, armature deform. If you did that for too long, it might have to reload the shaders. That's just it just kind of forgot what they looked like. It's not responding, yay. But as long as your computer isn't absolute garbage, then that will work just fine. So yeah, that's okay. Remember, remove metallic, 0.5 specular. And the only thing we have to add for the pants is we have to remove the alpha channel. And we're going to reuse this node. Set this to 1 always. And, excuse me. Sorry. Okay. So I'll just hit Control C to copy that. Control C to copy that. And hit Shift A, color, mix RGB node, hit Control V, change this to the, okay, so you see I'm using bottom 004, so I will use the 004.tc underscore TCL. It looks daunting at first glance, but it's really not. And I'll just go ahead and change the color for this too. So as you see, we've got a perfectly functional inkling. And to pose it, you go into layout. You can do this. Set origin. Dash Control tab. And you can see this one does nothing. This moves the ear. This moves the arm. If you get better at Blender, you will learn how to edit armatures. So yeah, I have my own custom rig that I kind of like to use. Uh, for first installment, I think this covers it pretty well. Um, Idols are much different, like NPCs are much different.